Welcome everyone to the February 10th, 2026 planning board meeting. Since everyone here is in attendance present, we'll roll right into our first topic, which is public comment. Public comments limited to up to 15 minutes with no more than 3 minutes allocated to any one speaker. Public comment is limited to any items that are on the agenda. In the room, we don't have anyone online. So we'll right into the second item on our agenda, which is reviewing the 2026 annual town meeting zone bylaw amendments, warrant article presentations.
Okay, so Christine will share her screen and bring up the presentation. And in front of you is the bylaws, just so you have them, but then also the presentation with the speaker notes. And exterior lighting is Alan, and we can just start with the first Article 32, which is exterior lighting.
So Elizabeth and I went through this with some of Sue's edits that she provided, and a lot of them, rewording to add some clarity and things like that. So do you want me just to go through each slide, and if we have any specific comments?
Yeah, I think, we can turn it over to, Alan is the presenter on this. I think, both Christine and I went through, and Alan got here early and went through the presentation, so, I think, we kind of went through and clarified a few things.
Yeah.
So starting with.
Should I just read these and we can go through them, and if anyone's got any questions there?
If you want, sure, it's up to you how you want to do this.
Yeah, it's because we have the old ones, so there's some changes to the older ones that are there. So I'm trying to, let's see if I have what I wrote. I don't want to. Let's just go through and read them. Delete section 773.11 lighting of the town zoning bylaw entirely and replace with the new section 7.13 exterior lighting that will apply to all projects requiring site plan review and only.
So, yeah, so that's the old one.
That's okay. And the new one.
So I think you want to just read
Is
the.
that one?
Oh, but this doesn't show the slide notes, so that makes it tricky.
That's what you have printed in front of you.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you use the printed one with
Yeah.
updated.
In your stack here, you have the new version.
So what's up on the screen is on Christine's laptop, not yours.
Okay.
So the mouse won't work.
And I should go to the next one.
Okay, so let's go to the, we'll go to the next one.
So we did move the goals a little further up in the slide, in the presentation.
Right, so
So
I'm
make it a little
not gonna
clearer.
do that.
Yeah, so the first slide was, we just simplified it. The amendment will delete the current 4 lighting items under 77311 entirely, replace it with a new, more comprehensive exterior lighting bylaw. And then for page 2, I think this was based on one of Sue's comments that she sent us. Kind of got a little confusing, so we moved the goals of the amendment up second. I don't think we changed anything. It just goes through the 4 goals, and then speaker notes.
Can we go through the goals or?
Sure, you want to just read through the speaker notes?
Yeah, he said to expand the scope of Concord's outdoor lighting policy. To have the bylaw align with Dark Sky, Massachusetts model lighting bylaw. And I found that there's a lot of towns have the similar type bylaw. To reduce light pollution and preserve views of the night sky. When was the last time you saw the Milky Way, right? to protect natural habitats and environmentally sensitive areas from excessive light spillover and the color of the luminaires, which makes it harder for our eyes to adapt between light and darkness and interferes with circadian rhythms for people and other living things. Did we get back on that last time when with number 4, the natural habitats? I thought someone said something about.
I
Site
think,
plan reviews.
we when we did it, we had some notes on how we were going to present that, but I don't think it was really. Anyone was having an issue with it, more just how we wanted to wordsmith it, I think.
Yeah, it was like clarifying.
Yeah,
Plants and animals.
Yes, yes.
habitat.
Yeah, that's why we changed it to habitat. I think it said plants and.
Plants and animals.
Yeah.
I think that this next slide is the one that we kind of reworked the most. And really just highlighted the current bylaw is extremely limited in scope and applies only to off-street parking and loading areas under 7.7 off-street parking, loading standards. The current bylaw just talks about light glare, spillover, and light pollution, and does not provide any standards or technical requirements. So previously, the language kind of got muddled in the speaker notes, so we just really clarified, here's the problem with the current bylaw, and then I don't know if you want to read through the next 5 items. It's the speaker notes, the speaker notes expand on those.
just give me 1 second, could I just request everyone be muted until they're called on that are online? Thanks. Go ahead, sorry.
So the proposed bylaw will. Those
Yeah.
that section. The number 1, establish lighting standards for all site and building lighting. That would be part of the site plan review, not just limited to parking and loading areas. This would include walkway or path lighting, luminaires installed on a building, such as above or adjacent to a doorway. Number 2, establish a correlated color temperature, CCT limits for luminaires. Correlated color temperature refers to yellow or blue color of the light emitted from a luminaire. Lower CCT numbers, 3000 K and below, appears a warm white light, similar to standard incandescent bulbs. High CCT numbers appear cool white and give off a blue tone and an increased glare, which, as noted previously, makes it harder for our eyes to adapt between light and darkness and interferes with circadian rhythms for people and other living things. The proposed bylaw includes a maximum CCT of 2700 K for all luminaires, which is pretty much, that's all you're gonna get these days anyway. Number 3, requirement that fixtures to be fully shielded, AKA dark sky compliant. And which all fixtures will come through like that now. Number 4, limit the hours for lighting except for security lighting, so that all the site lighting is not left on even when the business. Number 5, specify that all lights shall be LED lighting or equivalently sustainable alternatives. While this is not critical for new projects, it is for substantial redevelopments that would now need to update non-compliant lighting. Think of the old orange metal halide lights or high pressure sodium lights.
So this was one of the comments that Sue made, if you want to expand on that, we didn't.
Didn't revise it based on your comment yet.
Right, and so, I had 2 comments about this. One is, and maybe you did update this part, that there were 2 places where it was confusing what counted as whether redevelopments counted under this project or not, but maybe you did clean that one up. And the other one was, I wondered, why am I supposed to be thinking old orange middle halide lights? It's a little unclear for this. I mean, they had great color temperatures, but I suppose their problem is that they suck energy like nobody's business. But I think it would just be nice to be a little more clear and say, like, those old orange metal halide lights use a ton of energy or just make it clear why we want people to think of them, was my comment.
Or just delete that sentence altogether.
Oh, we could do that too.
Because it is the old ballast driven luminaires consume a lot of energy. Whether it's metal, high pressure sodium or.
Some people know that and other people don't, so when we tell people to think about it, the people who don't know it are going to be scratching their heads. We never want people to be scratching their heads and missing the next thing we say.
Yeah, I mean, that means like 0 to me. I
Right.
have no idea what that
Right.
reference is.
Let's just,
Okay, so I just deleted.
Yeah,
Great.
that's good.
I would also think it would be nice if we changed, on the previous page, it says lower CC numbers 3,000 Kelvin or below appear as a warm white light. So much as, but the bulbs that get sold in stores as warm white are in fact 27K or below. So I think it would just be clearer here to say 27K, 2,700K or below in both places. Yeah, and it's not part of the presentation, but you mentioned twice that that's dark sky shielded and low Kelvin is all that's sold these days, but for single family and duplex developments, which will not be covered under this bylaw, people are still installing plenty of non-dark sky compliant. Yeah, so, yeah, okay.
I am gonna make one quick announcement, just for anybody who's online. This Zoom meeting is completely locked down, so if you are here to try and share your screen, you will not be able to. So we have lots of people watching for Zoom bombing, and just want people to be aware of that.
Excellent. Sorry to hear there's been some recently.
So number 5, that's who will this bylaw change impact?
So we also modified this one to be a little bit more explanatory. And changed up the wording to that second bullet. I don't know if you want to read these two, Alan.
Look down here.
The notes.
Yep. All new projects that require site plan review will have to meet the proposed bylaw. This is primarily commercial and industrial developments. Planned residential developments, mixed-use developments, and institutional uses. It does not apply to single-family dwellings. Existing properties subject to site plan review that wish to relocate it, replace, or modify a non-compliant luminaire and or associated mounting will also need to be in compliance with the new bylaw.
So should we change that from wish to relocate it to relocate, replace, or modify?
Will be, right? Yeah,
Okay, where?
Oh, I see, you're right, if we remove wish to, it'll be simpler.
Yeah.
right.
Perfect. I'm on it.
Actually, that's more compliant to the industry.
Or some. Right, so.
I wish to relocate, replace, or modify. I don't know why it's a do.
Yes.
Oh, well,
That's what.
That's a typo, but if we get rid of wish to, that takes two
That relocate, replace, or modify, or not compliant. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
because it's not the mere wish that causes the
Right.
compliance, it's the doing.
I understand wish to, because you have to ask permission, but it's like, no, it's too complicated for the
Yeah.
process for a second. So it's grammatically correct, or the thought's correct.
Omit needless orders.
The person left.
That was,
Was it?
then we just had a couple of slides of some visuals if they're needed.
How do you feel about this? The pictures?
You mean the extra ones? Yeah.
These are Kelvin scale.
That's helpful if people have questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I understand it in theory, but if you had to tell me what was more than what was not, if I didn't see that, I would have no idea what
Okay.
you're talking about. So keeping it as a backup slide is really good.
Right. Yeah, and if somebody says, what do you mean Kelvin? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they measure it in, and it means how hot or cold it looks.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't need people to know what Kelvin is.
Just another.
Uh. Well,
I would put that one, but
that's pretty complicated.
Well, actually, that's a good visual though on the left, you know, you kind of.
you get
see
a sense of how
The
bright it really
luminaires
is.
that are actually,
Wait, but didn't the previous slide?
go back. I don't think, no,
It's similar to it.
I think this
Pretty
one's
similar.
much clearer.
yeah.
Okay.
I would
Yeah.
keep this.
I mean, the
one.
other one,
Yeah.
the other one's great, like a reference point, but it's a lot of
It's
information.
Yeah.
too much
You
information.
know, call the,
The next one for a
Yeah.
second?
yeah, that. Right.
I mean, if we kept this one at all, which I'm not sure we should, then what we would wanna do is like put a big circle around 10,000 K blue sky and 1900 K candle and 2700 warm white.
Too confusing, the other
But
one.
it's really
I
confusing.
agree.
All right.
I just only like
Deleted.
the left
Thank you.
side.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. It is.
And then the last one, I think is a nice one, the next one.
The fixture one?
Yeah.
That one.
Oh, that
Yeah.
previous one.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
And those you can look at those either as ground lights or telephone poles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
We call them utility poles.
utility poles.
They don't all
There's
have
more than just
telephone
telephone on them.
They're not owned by the telephone.
Okay, it is now, it is now deleted. I will say, we're gonna go through these tonight. We'll have, the final, versions. Those will be sent out and then for your next meeting on the 24th. I don't expect, unless anybody has any comments or questions, on the 24th, it'll just be, yep, this is final. And that is what gets submitted, because the next day they will have to be submitted. Between tomorrow and your meeting on the 24th. I'm hopeful that between tomorrow and next Wednesday, all of the presentations will be sent to the town moderator and town council. For them to review, and so those will be also in for your meeting on the 24th. But I'm hoping to get those sent out to everybody. As soon as send them out next Friday, yeah. Yeah, next Friday. So I won't be at the meetings. Okay. Perfect. Next is MBTA communities. Which is on here.
So reason for the bylaw amendment, to bring the bylaw into compliance with state requirements that were left unfulfilled by Concord's adopted MBTA communities multi-family living district. These requirements are half the district area contiguous, sorry.
Oh, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
So you really just need to read your reason, not the actual slide.
That's okay.
In 2024, the town adopted a new MBTA communities multifamily overlay district, which was approved by the Attorney General and submitted to the state for compliance review with state regulations. The state granted conditional compliance and listed 3 items that are required to be amended. These requirements are half the district area be contiguous. Bylaw cannot require a special permit for the floodplain conservancy district. Street and rail right-of-way areas must be included in the district area. If the EOHLC does not find the town in compliance by June 12th, 2026, the town will not be eligible for certain grants such as MassWorks grant that could be used for upgrades to the town's wastewater facility or towards construction of a new water treatment facility.
So on, item two, see the same comment you had in the slide itself, I just spelled out district.
So in the speaking part, it's where you say 3 items required. You don't actually have to say the requirements are like immediately after,
Yeah.
just because people start to feel like it's like
Yeah,
too formal in a weird way, because you're saying like, there are 3 requirements we have to meet. Those requirements are, and it's like, okay, like, just a thought. It's just a double thought.
no, it's a good one.
Okay, so,
Instead of having a number for 4, could we take the number away and just leave it at the bottom of the slide?
As
Or
like
not
an
even
including
numbers,
thought.
or not even numbers at all.
Well, you do mention 3, which is
Three,
fine.
but
The first one are the 3 requirements, but number 4, it's.
oh, on the slide.
On the slide, yeah.
It's confusing if we say.
There are 3 and then-
requirements and then there's 4.
And that can just be its own paragraph, like. as
Yeah,
a
like the
concluding-
first paragraph, it could be a concluding paragraph like that.
Okay,
Also in the slide notes, I think we should spell out ELO.
Yeah.
Nobody, whatever the
Yeah,
heck
that's what
that
this-
thing is that nobody has heard of yet and can't
Yeah.
remember for 5 seconds if they're me.
Mhm. Just because I know if you have 3 minutes, it's gonna be, no matter what you do, it's gonna get tight.
yeah,
so take out, I'm just gonna say if the state,
Oh, even better.
if the state does not find the town in compliance.
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
so to meet the state's requirements, the amendment proposes to add the area of Concord Green to sub-district 4, which brings the district area in compliance with the area contiguity requirement. Adds a new section to the bylaw that effectively states that MBTA Communities project that proposes work in the the floodplain conservancy district is not required to file for a special permit, but will have to meet all the floodplain conservancy district requirements as part of the site plan review. And while not part of the bylaw amendment language, the GIS compliance model that gets submitted to the state has been updated to include all street and rail rights of way. The rights or right of way? I thought it's right of way.
But
It's 1 right of way and 2 rights of way.
Yeah, it's
like-
plural,
it's like-
plural is.
plural,
because
it's like
of street,
cul-de-sac.
Yeah,
Okay,
instead of cul-de-sacs, it's.
sorry.
Attorney.
I know,
special, of course.
double check.
Very-
You said nuisance.
It's geeses.
It's Mises, right?
Mhm.
All right,
thought it was really late.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh,
On Tuesday.
yes. It's Tuesday. Here is a map showing the location of Concord Green that is proposed to be added to sub-district 4. It requires a complicated set of GIS calculations to address the 4 primary state requirements for compliance with the MBTA communities regulations. The current MBTA overlay district totals 84.4 acres, which means that the town is required to have at least 1 contiguous area that is 42.2 acres. But the largest area is sub-district 4 with 31.5 acres.
Should we say currently there? Just to be extra obvious?
Currently the largest area.
Yeah, but currently the largest area?
yeah, sure.
District is also required to have a density of 15 units per acre, zoned for 1,094 units in total, and be at least 50 acres with at least 50% of the required district land area and estimated unit capacity with the half-mile radius.
Oh, that's supposed to say within,
Yeah, within.
unit capacity within, right?
So.
So here's.
What's that sentence do? What's the
It's leading to the next paragraph, which is, oh my God, that was so complicated, our eyes crossed, and this is what we came up with.
Okay.
Because you're not just trying to fulfill the contiguous area requirement, you're trying to do all four of these,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Planning board reviewed multiple alternative scenarios to try and address the contiguous acreage requirement. As different scenarios were prepared, a parcel might get added and the 50% contiguous area requirement is satisfied, but one of the other three requirements becomes non-compliant. The issue with getting the analysis to work is that when one requirement is addressed, it may throw off may throw off another requirement.
Oh, don't need that other.
Yeah.
It may throw. Oh, fine, okay.
By adding only Concord Green to sub-district 4, the MBTA district is compliant with the state's compliance model requirements like unit count, transit area, contiguous area, and density. This option that means that other commercially zoned land does not get included, protecting it from being redeveloped by right of way.
Nope.
Too much right of way. By right into a multifamily residential use.
If you take out the hyphen there, it might make it a little easier to read, and by right.
So I guess why it lost me was this talks about 4 primary requirements, then it talks about 84 acres, then it generically talks about the requirements. And I'm not sure which, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
so an alternative could be, instead of that second sentence, the district is also, take that out, the planning board reviewed multiple scenarios to try and address the contiguous acreage requirement. As different scenarios were prepared, a parcel might get added and the 50% contiguous area requirement is satisfied. But one of the other 3 requirements
Right.
becomes
or
non-compliant.
one of the other requirements becomes non-compliant. Like people don't really.
Yeah.
I would
Like
make
that
it
could almost
even-
be a separate slide. If someone asked what the other
Yeah.
requirements are, you can have it bullet pointed and just say, these are the requirements we were trying to deal with, which was like push and pull.
I'd make it even simpler. I'd have it all back up, but I would
Yeah.
just say like the planning board reviewed multiple alternative scenarios to try and address the contiguous acreage requirement while maintaining compliance with the other requirements.
Exactly.
And like just that, like
Because if you get into
highlight that
this,
the contiguous was the issue. We had to fix the contiguous, we had to maintain compliance with everything else.
Yeah.
And just,
And
and then if somebody,
this
if
was
somebody
more
asks a
work.
question and
Yeah.
is like, well, what, then be like, when we went through this process, we would add this parcel and that would throw this off.
Yeah.
We'd add this parcel and that would throw this off. Like, just keep
So-
it
Yeah, I think,
very simple to start with.
I think that's great, you can say acreage requirement while maintaining compliance with
With the
other
other,
3.
with the other 3.
Well,
not even
not
the
other
other
three,
the other
it's
requirements.
requirements. And if somebody's asked questions,
are they?
what other requirements, then up comes the backup
Because
slide.
I don't think anyone's
Yeah.
gonna ask that question, and it's complicated to answer it proactively.
And also because it's hard to get in under the wire for the town meeting 3 minutes, but backup slides
Don't
don't
count.
count for that.
So do you delete the rest as different scenarios for
Yeah.
prepared?
I think you just, I think
Yeah.
you
You're just
scratch
you
that.
tried a bunch of
If someone said, if someone asked,
Yeah.
you know, well,
We
So-
have that answer in the back.
So.
yeah, you have a
It's gonna-
backup
it's gonna-
slide.
The question's gonna be, well, what about the prison? Like, why didn't you do that? Just be done. You know, like somebody's always gonna bring you and say, oh, well, we had all these requirements, and when you did one, it blew up the other.
Yeah, I like having that in backup, just because I wanna be cognizant, instead of like the tight time frame.
And somebody also might bring up well, what about the prison? Well, it's more than half a mile. Well, not all of it, but then
Exactly.
the backup slide can explain about, well, but that's complicated because then you've got a split district, but we don't want that in the main presentation.
No,
Yeah.
but even as a backup slide, I wouldn't even include a backup slide about.
We could just say. if
Oh, no,
somebody
no,
else-
you just-
MCI Concord.
There's a whole planning
is-
process for that.
Not
Right,
eligible.
I'm sure it could be now that it's been transferred to DCAM, but that's
Oh.
not the point. The town is going through a very, robust community,
Visioning process for that.
process, and there's a master plan to look at mixed use and zoning it for all by right. Residential development is
No.
not the vision that, the town came up with.
For the
So,
whole property, yeah. Yeah.
all right, so.
So this text is good. It's just that a lot of it should go to the backup slide.
Okay, so I'm gonna take out the second sentence. No. I'm gonna
No,
keep
the third
third,
sentence.
I'm gonna take out the third sentence, shorten up the fourth sentence. The planning board reviewed multiple alternative scenarios to try and address the contiguous acreage requirement, now you got me going. Acreage requirement, while maintaining compliance with the other state requirements. Okay. Okay, and then create a backup slide that just has the
Those four
bulleted.
questions, yeah.
Linda's. Presentation. 72 slides.
Yes.
And on the last slide, do you want it to say thank you or questions?
I changed everything to thank you.
Oh, okay.
You're gonna, it gets opened
You
up
can-
for public comment.
Anyway.
They know
Anyways.
Yes.
Next we have. Two and mixed use.
And this one's probably gonna be too long because I added some stuff, so I'm hoping people will suggest some things to cut out. If you also think it's too long. So it starts with. Mixed use means combining business and residential uses on the same site, like having, for example, a mom and pop store with housing above it, or a larger site with ground floor businesses and a bunch of housing above, or on a very large site, perhaps businesses along the street with housing or more businesses above, and separate buildings in back made entirely of housing. Our zoning bylaw already allows for mixed use, which we currently call combined business residence. Concord's housing is almost all in the form of single-family houses. We need more options so that seniors can stay in town by downsizing, so that young families can move into starter housing, and so that people like teachers and firefighters can afford to live in the town where they work. Mixed-use housing in our village centers is among the recommendations in the town's Envision Concord long-range plan, which says, for example, renew and improve Concord's village centers as vital pedestrian-friendly economic and social hubs that enable community engagement on a wider scale by expanding zoning policies to allow mixed use and appropriately dense development.
So
So
what I,
just cut
what
the
I will
whole
say
thing.
is just say, what I did with Envision Concord things
Uh-huh.
is I actually said, as you can see from the excerpts of Envision Concord on the slide.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you can basically say like
And then-
it's a priority and everyone knows it, and then you can just move on.
I
Instead of-
think all four of the
Yeah.
bullets in the speaker notes can be deleted.
Yes.
And while you're saying that first paragraph.
They're reading.
They're
People can read that on,
Yes.
yeah, and if they have a problem with that, then they can consult the briefing book where they can find it in full.
Yeah. We don't have the time for all that.
I can, what do you think about me saying mixed-use housing in our village centers is among the recommendations in the town's Envision Concord long-range plan, as you can see here and find in in our notes in the briefing book? Or should I
Sure.
not even say
Yeah,
that?
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. And
Okay,
find in, under this article in the briefing book.
No, so read it, so read that mixed use housing in our village centers is among the recommendations in the town's Envision Concord long range plan.
As you can see here
As-
and find under this article in the briefing book.
See here. Find,
Okay, that'll save a lot of time right there.
find. In the explanation in the briefing book.
Yeah. Lovely. Now, you may be asking yourself, don't we already allow mixed use in some of Concord's zoning districts? We do, but unfortunately, the current bylaw isn't working. No mixed use has been created since 2020. Since 2010, we have only created 2 units of mixed use housing.
So what's 2010 have to do with that?
That it's not just that things have been bad since 2020 because there was a
Things have been
pandemic
bad
and
since
everything.
20.
This law has been a complete failure
so-
since 2010.
so-
So maybe there's a better way to say
But
it.
why, what was created between 2010 and 2020? That's the first thing I'm gonna ask when I see you.
Oh,
say-
nothing.
No, so I think you start
so
with.
you say with, nothing's been created since 2020, 2010, or since
Since
2010, 2 units have been created.
And since 2020, no units have been created.
Right.
You flip
Okay,
it.
flip
You
it.
just
Say
flip it and
it's
make it,
weird,
make it as
Yes.
impressive as it should be.
It's weird,
Good- Good suggestion.
timeline to do,
Yeah.
to go back.
And then my only thought on this
Mhm.
is, can you make the ones that didn't go forward in a color that makes it look bad?
I can make it.
No, but it's a thought for presentation style, because you've got 3 projects up there,
Oh, like if
but
we
the
put,
bottom 2 didn't go forward, so it's like, it doesn't, who cares?
so if you take
It
not
basically green and
constructed,
red, yeah, non-constructed
and
withdrawn,
underline it, and take withdrawn and underline it, that would do it.
or yeah, just make it stand out as like, look, that's the one success was the one person who really was committed to that idea. And the rest have just not gone forward at all.
Yeah. Well, it's not that they weren't committed to the idea, 13B Commonwealth has been
No.
trying, but
No,
they
I know,
just
and 166.
Yeah.
But
And they're coming back,
it's different.
that's the thing.
Okay, well, you're not supposed to use.
I thought we're underlining, we can't use red because then red, green color blind
Can't use
people can't.
red, green.
Oh,
Yeah. Or are we supposed to make it bold, not underlined?
No, I
That are
can.
different than the other.
Yeah, I can change the colors.
Whatever the guidelines for presentation say for emphasis, do
Yeah.
that.
Bold or
Yeah.
whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The current bylaw makes it financially infeasible for people to develop mixed uses. We can just simplify that to it instead of repeating the current bylaw requires a minimum.
Wait. I'm gonna catch up.
Yep.
All right, what did you want now?
The current bylaw makes it financially infeasible for people to develop mixed uses. It requires a minimum of 20% affordable housing, which ends up requiring 25% affordable units for multiples of 4 units. There are also requirements for open space that are impossible to achieve. Either the project gets abandoned or the requirement gets partially waived, but there are no specific criteria for how much can be waived. Some other waivers are possible, but vague. It would be better for the bylaw to be financially achievable with fewer, more clearly specified waivers. The current bylaw requires that the commercial and residential uses be in a single building, which does not provide any flexibility in how a site gets developed or allow for consideration of the existing development patterns. What will this bylaw amendment change? It will allow residential and commercial uses in separate buildings under certain conditions instead of forcing both uses to be in a single building. Change the requirement that 20% of the residential units be for affordable housing from projects with 4 or more to projects with 10 units or more. Every project involves some fixed costs, hiring architects, submitting plans, and so forth. That makes small projects more expensive than big projects. With the huge increases in construction costs of the last several years, the threshold for financial feasibility has changed. It will reduce the open space requirement to a level that can actually be achieved, but add requirements for open space dedicated to residents and make sure that open space areas will actually be usable. It will remove the ambiguity for when a waiver can be granted for less open space or for an increase in height or a decrease in parking by providing specific criteria and a requirement that if a waiver is requested, the affordable housing must be more than 20%, not just 10%. If this presentation takes too long, this entire slide could get moved to a backup slide. Because this is kind of long. Here's some clarification on the reasons for.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, back up. That will help a lot on the lens. Okay. The proposed bylaw amendment also adds some new elements that are currently not in the existing bylaw. It adds site design development standards, which include such items as location of commercial and residential uses and preservation of an active commercial streetscape. Specific requirements for the amount of open space, including clarification of public and private open space, and that such elements as parking lot, landscape islands, stormwater drainage areas, or other isolated areas can't count toward the required minimum open space. On-site pedestrian networks, site lighting, low-impact design for landscaping and stormwater drainage, and it also includes that the placement of buildings shall take into consideration the existing neighborhood development patterns and the architectural qualities of the existing neighborhood structures on adjacent or nearby properties while allowing for appropriate contemporary design elements. The proposed bylaw amendment adds the flexibility for the planning board to develop design guidelines to illustrate the development standards. Two of the more impactful amendments are adding a requirement for an in lieu payment to the Concord Municipal Affordable Housing Trust for fractional affordable housing units and affordable housing development standards. The payment in lieu would only be allowed for less than half a unit. It makes projects more financially feasible while still collecting funds to support affordable housing. The development standards require affordable units to have the same exterior appearance as market rate units and be treated equivalently with respect to parking spaces. And I have a note here where, in point of fact, fractional in lieu isn't an addition so much as a change, but I couldn't figure out how to fit it on the previous slide without the slide being too long. Do people have a problem with it being listed under additions? Or do you think that I need to fix it?
Oh, you mean it's really a change?
It's really a change, not an addition.
So currently fractional payment, in lieu payment for fractional units is, it's not permitted.
Well, it's an addition
No.
because we're adding the option, but it's a change because right now we're requiring the entire unit, and this would be a change to allowing a fractional unit.
No, you're allowing a payment for a fractional unit.
So it's okay for it to be an addition. Okay, and anyway, we're listing it so people will hear it. All right. Mixed use is currently allowed in all business districts, in 3 of the limited business districts, and by special permit in the medical professional district. Right now, the West Concord Village District has a special exemption to prevent residential on the ground floor. The proposed amendment would disallow mixed-use residential on, I'm sure I can shorten this up. That would no longer be necessary since the proposed amendment would already require commercial uses along.
I'll work with you to shorten it up.
Yeah, short, I'm just writing a short note. Okay.
Shorten slide 8.
Yes, limited business district is located along Elm Street just before it runs into Route 2 near the Rotary. It's part of the MBTA Communities Overlay District that the town created in 2024. That means it's now possible to build a multi-family development there with all housing and no business uses at all. Much as we need smaller housing and options in town, we also need business uses to diversify our tax base and not rely quite so much on residential property taxes. By allowing mixed use and limited business 1, we increase the odds of keeping more commercial uses in this district. Lastly, the amendment changes the name from combined business residence to a more widely known term, mixed use development. And that should go back to thank you, because I didn't realize that was the thing. And if people have more suggestions for shortening this, I'm all ears.
Okay, 35 wireless.
Wireless.
Fun.
Okay.
So what I told Abby when we first, when I first sent this to her, this one has kept me up at night. It it's a lot, and there's absolutely no way to go through, the bylaw. So if you notice the difference from previous years, we would show inserts of the bylaw. I think it was last year, when the comment came back, it's like, people have the briefing book. Look at your briefing book if you want to see the,
Full text.
the text of
Yeah.
the warrant. And so, so I really focused the presentation, this first draft, to, I'm gonna say the high level, changes, and, got it in 3 slides. But so I think, we'll run through and everybody's thoughts. I don't expect it to stay 3 slides for the presentation, but I also think it's more of a conversation of backup slides.
Yeah.
Abby and I and Christine were meeting Thursday morning,
Thursday morning, 7:30.
Thursday morning at 7:30, to go on this. So
Yeah.
I'll take it over.
Okay. At the 2025 annual town meeting, the select board and the planning board committed to updating the zoning bylaw for personal wireless communication facilities to address changes in federal law and reduce barriers for new wireless facilities given the need for increased cell service. Given the complexities of the current bylaw and the needed changes, the planning board is proposing to replace the current bylaw in its entirety. The current bylaw was written during a time of immense proliferation of what I'm gonna ask proliferation not be used just because it's too hard for me to say, of wireless infrastructure around the country and corresponding concern about the effects of that infrastructure on the natural and built environment. Accordingly, the current bylaw was designed to limit the number of facilities in the town. It focused largely on minimizing their impacts rather than encouraging service. Do you remember when cell phones first came out? Besides being huge, people were only thinking about providing coverage along main roads. No one would have thought that smartphones and the need for adequate cell coverage would be part of the everyday life for most people and in all places, not just cars. The current bylaw accomplished these purposes in part by imposing stringent requirements on applicants seeking to install facilities in the town. Most notably, the current bylaw included provisions that require an applicant to eliminate the possibility that it could provide adequate cellular coverage utilizing other facilities outside the town. If they could not, the current bylaw requires the applicants to seek locations in the overlay district as the first option. Additionally, the current bylaw includes a handful of additional provisions that further limit where facilities can be located. The result is a significant limitation on the number of available sites that an applicant can use to fill coverage gaps. Further, an applicant seeking relief from any of the current bylaw requirements is required to demonstrate its need for such relief and provide the Board of Appeals with, quote, a written statement describing why the requested relief is in the best interest of the town, end quote, rather than in the interest of service to its customers or potential customers. Some parts of the current bylaw are just incompatible with federal law. I have lots of thoughts on
Yeah.
that section,
Right.
just generally. I don't think it's. I read this and I'm going, well, why are those bad things? Like, why shouldn't they show it's in our best interest and why shouldn't we limit locations? Like, I don't think we've done a good job of explaining like how stringent the requirements were and how they overlapped basically eliminated the ability to increase cell coverage.
And also it went so far beyond federal law that it sent the message, try another town.
Yeah, and essentially we couldn't possibly make it compliant.
Yeah.
So I think we can do this in a way that's just a little bit clear in the explanation. Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah, we're three. Okay. So we're just gonna like put a big pause on that one. We don't need to discuss it. We're just gonna I'm gonna rehash that. There's a lot of additionalities. There's a lot of, okay. The key changes to the current bylaw. 1, differentiate between applications to add antennas versus applications for new towers, which would allow certain actions by right. Certain wireless facilities are required to be permitted as of right under federal law and should be as of right in the zoning bylaw, especially if the town wants to encourage wireless providers to close the town's coverage gap by reasonable means. The proposed bylaw allows wireless providers that wish to co-locate a new antenna on an existing tower, swap out old equipment, etc., to do that with just a building permit. Number 2, allow facilities subject to site plan review rather than a special permit. The current bylaw requires a special permit for all facilities in the town, whether they are standalone towers or on a building. It also requires applicants to take extensive steps to demonstrate why a facility cannot be located within the overlay district as a prerequisite to be located anywhere else. This process has the advantage of providing for a robust public review of these facilities, but the significant amount of information needed to apply for and obtain a special permit can create a burden for wireless carriers looking to increase service in the town. Wireless providers have said that they feel discouraged from applying because the special permit criteria are too stringent in some cases, like a new facility that's hidden in a cupola. The proposed bylaw amendment uses site plan review as the primary manner to cite new facilities in certain situations instead of a special permit. This is preferable for a few reasons. We want to encourage co-locating new antennas on existing facilities or placing them out of sight in steeples, cupolas, and other existing structures. Requiring a provider to go through the special permit process for these types of locations is redundant and unnecessary, since implementing these new facilities did not require new structures to be built. 3. Utilize conditions in site plan review rather than waivers from requirements to address site conditions. Where there is nevertheless a special concern about a particular location, however, those site-specific concerns can be addressed through the reasonable conditions in site plan review in a more appropriately tailored way. This would also have the advantage of significantly simplifying the bylaw by removing many, if not all, of the design and other setting criteria in the current bylaw and leaving a few basic ones that are likely to matter for all facilities, such as reasonable height limitations, camouflaging and screening requirements, and safety fall zones for towers. It would also remove the need for limitations on facilities in particularly sensitive areas such as historic districts or near wetland areas. Placement of facilities in those areas would still trigger review by other bodies, and the conditions of their decisions can be incorporated into the site plan review as enforceable conditions of the zoning as well, with more sensitivity to particular locations and circumstances. Require a special permit for new facilities of a certain size or in certain locations. The proposed bylaw will still require a special permit for new towers or for facilities in particularly sensitive locations, while utilizing site plan review for all other facilities. This will preserve the public hearing for applications proposing a new tower, providing the transparency desired for larger projects and putting an appropriately greater burden on applicants to justify such facilities.
So that's really long, and it also seems to cover everything, about deleting the previous slide completely.
Which one?
The one about what's wrong with the current bylaw, because this slide you just read says what's wrong with the current bylaw and saying what we would change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting thought.
Well, but you could make it much crisper, basically
Yeah.
just lay in on this was designed to stop development of these things. What we had did back at the time is no longer legal.
Yeah.
Here's how we're proposing to fix
Yeah.
that. And like, just basically like,
It's
Is the-
no longer legal and has prevented us from getting the cell.
Well, yeah, right, yeah.
You want,
exactly.
and just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I think it can be really condensed and simplified.
yeah.
And then have more backup
Mm.
as we need it.
Right. and
The
that's-
only thing I would
yeah.
not emphasize is that the process has an advantage. It's in that second bullet point because,
Yeah,
because you're saying, oh, this is a good process because it gives a lot of robust public input. People will be like, exactly.
well, I think it's important, I think the
To
key,
acknowledge
the key is to acknowledge that there are types of structures and locations in which we want. it
Right, and we're
robust public
maintaining
purpose.
that.
We are
You could say
maintaining
this
that for these
process
facilities.
provides or will provide.
For
Yeah.
others, co-location of antennas, blah, 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 blah.
It's not necessary, yeah.
It's a barrier to service
Right.
without actually providing any. Yes,
All right, so I think Thursday morning,
Thursday morning,
we'll get
Hit
it
the
done.
ground.
Can you think of what backup slides
yeah,
that you might want, and we can start working on those ideas?
I mean, you need a slide of the overlay district, just so that you can see
You
exactly
need
that
the
it's
map.
just those little tiny spots around town and basically saying. If someone asks the question, you can say, does a service gap on Monument Street justify you saying, hey, I can't reach it from way the heck over here? Like, people might appreciate that. Because
Yeah.
people say, oh, there's an overlay district, it's fine.
yeah, I think it's helpful to have
Yeah.
a map of what the, what the overlay districts actually are.
Yeah,
I
and
think
not
that's always
just
helpful.
that it's too far away, but just it's so
So
restrictive
still-
that given that you have to get the property and get rights and everything else, it's just.
Okay, so one backup slide that shows the
Yeah.
current
Overlay district, yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
I think it's probably. I mean, when we talk about.
you have a map of towers that
There's
have co-located.
Location. Yeah,
Like, cause I know a
Like,
nurse
did-
snack probably has co-located, you know what I mean? Like, so you can just say, look, if they're putting more things on this thing you didn't know about, is that gonna affect anybody?
There's 2 towers at a Nurse Mac Hill.
Okay,
And because of the change in federal law, there's been 3 new providers have gone up for
right,
just a building permit.
yeah,
right.
Right, so you want a map of. So we can create a map of all the towers and. Like, here's a purple tower, that's 1 carrier.
yeah,
Um. All right,
yeah,
so
let's think
map,
about that.
so,
I also think it's helpful, I think it's helpful to have a slide. And gets really complicated in the weeds, but I know someone's gonna ask like, well, what does the federal law actually require us to do?
and that is probably where Mina will
Yeah,
stand
where
up.
he would stand up, like
Yeah.
if there's something, but I
Yeah.
think it's helpful. To have a visual, like I don't need to be the one doing that.
Well, you could ask, if you can, you could ask
Yeah.
Mina, does he want a backup slide on that, or does he just wanna talk?
Okay.
Yeah.
You could even
I'm
get
gonna,
people
I'm
to
gonna guess.
reference the Federal Register, be like, oh, here's the 40-page document of
Yeah,
what the
because
requirements.
because I think people will be like more like,
Without,
yeah, he'll have to get up and explain like superseding federal law and all of
Yeah.
that, but I think it's helpful for people to understand, like,
Mhm.
Okay, so I will,
figure out how he wants, because somebody's gonna ask that question of like. What does the federal law actually require us to do? Because some people will just say like,
Do the minimum,
we
right.
should only meet
well,
the
I
minimum,
think that's in the explanation.
yeah,
yeah. I mean, we could only meet the minimum, it's kind of what we're doing, except for violating federal law, and what has it gotten us? Coverage, which most people are very unhappy with.
Yeah, isn't it in the explanation? Yeah, isn't it under item 2?
is it?
Of this,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's still just helpful to be able to put something,
Okay, I'll ask
yeah,
him.
yeah, see what he wants to do about that. I think it would also be helpful to have. Probably a slide, like, we can go. I think it's helpful for people to understand when there would still be, and we say this, but I think on a slide that's like. This type of whether, what's gonna require a public hearing and what is. Like,
Okay.
and what there will be a public meeting about. So like new
So-
towers, all of that, like
A table,
a table of like,
okay.
these are the types of changes or facilities that will still involve. Like,
Right, so
a
a
notice,
table of
public hearing,
building permit,
yeah,
site plan. Special permit.
yes, cause
Okay,
I still maintain that the average person sitting in town does not understand the difference between special permit, site plan review, building permit.
correct.
Yeah, and I think the more times we can just put up a nice clear visual that's like, these are these 3 things that we talk about all the time. And that are very confusing for people to understand, like. Because the main question that people are gonna be asking is like, is there a chance for me to say like, I'm not sure about this? Like,
is there control?
is there a control of me to be like, I don't want it here?
Okay. All right, I will work
Okay.
on those. Yeah, I will need, I'll talk to our TISP tomorrow
Yeah,
about the tower location.
that may be too complicated at some point, but I think at least the overlay districts is helpful to understand.
No, I'm fairly certain they already have
Have
it,
It is on the GIS map.
Yeah,
so you would be able just to say, differentiate colors, like how many carriers
carriers are on each,
on
yeah.
it, which we may not entirely know, but.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's 4 different carriers on Emerson Hospital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
All right. Joint parking. And then I know, Sue, so we'll run through joint parking, and I know Sue had.
Okay.
Her comments.
Yeah, she may not have seen the notes though, did she? So.
No, I did
Yeah.
see the
Oh, you
notes.
see the notes?
Everybody
Oh,
saw, yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm unstoppable. I
Oh.
provided comments on those too.
I read the presentations. I didn't open up the email for it. I just pulled it off the website. Me getting notes at work is hard. This proposed zoning bylaw is substantially similar to the amendment that failed at last year's town meeting. Last year, the wrong presentation was loaded on the screen, and the presenter, in an effort to respect everyone's time, went ahead from memory, even though his planned presentation varied considerably from what was ultimately what was shown on the screen. This less than ideal presentation caused significant confusion and ultimately undermined the amendment. In bringing this amendment back this year, the planning board is emphasizing the value it feels the bylaw amendment, the value.
It feels in this bylaw amendment. And the word this with on the
Yeah.
next line should be deleted and hopes that the correct
The correct
slide.
slides and a flawless presentation on my part will better inform members of the public.
Wait, I'm bringing this amendment back this year, the planning board is emphasizing the value it feels in
In this bylaw.
this bylaw amendment, okay.
And then delete the word with. It's not feels that the correct slides, not that with the correct slides. Yeah.
Will better inform members of the public what the board is trying to accomplish, and hopefully the town will support it. The next slide. Parking is and likely always will be a contentious issue. We appreciate that, but also recognize that reforming it is an important opportunity, which is why you see it come up in several action items in the town's comprehensive long-range plan, Vision Concord, a sample of which are set out on the screen. The planning board, in responding to this and other guidance from town officials, looked into making changes to the zoning bylaw to support these goals.
Instead of town officials.
It's the slide.
I think it was a select.
It was a select board.
board goal last year.
But so it's
Responding to this and.
it's with, I guess it's with guidance from the select boards or in accordance with select board goals.
Yes. Or again. With. Goals. Okay.
The town hired a transportation and parking engineer to evaluate the current zoning bylaw and parking requirements as set forth in section 7.7, comparing them to the published industry standards and those of neighboring communities. He found that for the most part, the town's parking requirements are in line with industry standards, and our neighboring towns is missing. A few could be amended, but it would not bring about any meaningful change like those discussed in Envision Concord. That said, he did find that joint parking, section 7.7.2.4, is very restrictive. It could be improved. Next slide. The problem with the current bylaw is that the types of businesses allowed to utilize joint parking are severely limited. The limit on how much parking can be considered joint parking is arbitrarily set at 50% with no analysis or justification required. Also, there is currently no provision which requires a new joint parking agreement to be executed when a business changes. Currently, a written agreement for joint parking is reviewed and approved by the planning board as part of a joint parking request, and the agreement is filed only once with the application for a building and occupancy permit. There's no current provision which requires a new joint parking agreement to be executed when a business changes. Plus, it is not clear who exactly must sign that agreement. The current language is outdated. Back when is this what I gave you, or is this different?
It seems like one.
This isn't.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I suggested some changes to this, but you can tell me that I'm stupid, you don't like my changes and you want it back the old way.
Yeah, well, the thing is that once you start, it's repetitive.
Well, I thought this middle paragraph here says the same thing twice.
It does. I was trying to eliminate where we said the same thing over and over again, because this presentation was full of it when I started. And so when you start talking about it outdated and when it was created and practical, I don't think anybody cares, honestly. My take was always that if you're just saying, look, this is why it's not working, and you throw out there, not the justification for why they did what they did, but here's the unintended result.
Hmm.
We're just sort of dealing with it, because this isn't something like the last amendment, which would have power based on basically saying they did it wrong on purpose.
Hmm.
This is just, they didn't even think about it, they didn't care.
Hmm.
And so like if we just move on with just, so this isn't.
Okay,
Do you
all
want,
right.
you want me to? bring-
And also some of this stuff could maybe go into a backup slide if absolutely necessary, when people say, well, but people wrote it that way for a reason, didn't they? But the reason is, well, they just weren't thinking about more flexible business models.
Yeah, I also rewrote it the way I talk, so that's why I knew
Which is a
it
good
wasn't
way of
correct.
having it, yeah. Revert, revert.
So do you want me to? Um. So this is slide 4.
Yeah, or
Okay, so let me bring. Let me just stop sharing. No, so slide 4, I think, yeah, the slide's the same. The problem with the current bylaw is that the type of business allowed to utilize joint parking are severely limited. Also, the limit on how much parking can be considered joint parking is arbitrarily set to 50% with no analysis or justification required. And there currently is no provision which requires a new joint parking agreement be executed when a business changes. The current language is outdated, does not take into consideration how businesses and consumers operate, and does not meet the town's envisioned Concord goals.
right, so instead of being 3 paragraphs, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
Yeah, that's better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
um. So it's hard. Just think we want to think at it. Is it wrong? It's just like you can't put it more than once or else people tune out. And that,
Yeah.
looking at Mark's notes, that's what he did that over and over and over again. Which didn't help.
Um.
So some of. So this is kind of.
Repetitive too, isn't it?
I kind of just want to simplify it. Like this feels like very technical language, which I understand, but it's like the recommended changes are to allow more types of businesses to utilize joint parking. To have the calculations for required parking be based
Yeah,
on actual
actually, we
data.
probably don't need this slide at all.
Yeah.
Because it talks about it on slide 7. Again,
Yeah. And also, it's not really even that we're broadening the ability for more land uses, I mean, we are, but what we're trying to achieve is, it shouldn't be about one use or another, any use, any business use should be allowed to utilize joint parking plus some residential. With any other one, as long as there is item
I think you
2.
can delete 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
the slide 5 goes away completely.
All right,
Because this was our conversation about it last year, is that it's like, there was like, joint parking currently exists.
Right.
You know, it's not a new concept. These are the finite changes we want to make to it.
Yeah, and did the language about this isn't parking relief go away? Oh,
No,
it's here.
It's,
Okay, so that needs to stay somewhere, but it's that because that's on a note of slide 5, so that should stay somewhere, but it
Yeah.
shouldn't be. On the
What's
slide.
that?
about parking relief.
This is not parking relief. It's
Oh.
it's in the notes.
Okay,
It's not a slide, but we just gotta say it because somebody's gonna bring it up. Of
and because it is confusing.
It
the
is.
Difference between
yes,
this, that, and the other kind of
Exactly.
parking stuff.
so
so can you go back up to 3? Yeah, so you can add that statement.
yeah,
I-
add it
there,
right there, right in the beginning, like, hey, this was very
I do want-
restrictive.
you know,
and I do
wanna
wanna
be
say-
clear that joint parking is not parking relief. All right, so I can move that.
That's great.
So move that from 5 to slide 3. The next slide 6, do you wanna move 6?
And it may be worth saying something along the lines of like, you know, when we think about, you know, issues with parking in town where neighbors or residents are unhappy, it's often because of parking relief. As a, but like, that's what I think people need to understand is it's like, I don't know how you
Or it's
get
all
that
because
across
of
that
parking
like
relief.
relief, that's what I
Yeah, yeah.
mean. And it's like,
No, you said parking relief and I changed it to parking relief.
oh, okay.
To make it more clear
Mhm.
that it's relief versus joint.
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
So we have the sentence.
Yeah.
I will note here that joint parking is different than parking relief.
Yeah.
Right.
Parking relief is a special, and
Yeah.
so I'll move that up.
Move that up to the
three.
third, great,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So the next, as far as 6, do you wanna move 6 to be the second slide? Similar to what we did in the
Yeah,
other ones.
That makes sense, because it just sets the stage, yeah.
And then go
Yeah.
to the Envision Concord, okay. So I'll move 6. To. Okay, and then take that sentence out of 5. And move,
So then you don't have multiple ones that are like proposed changes, each.
No, you don't understand this paragraph. Lower than the cumulative required, that's just gonna. They're gonna be thinking about, wait, lower than the higher, what?
What now? On slide 7, I was complaining about the language and below it too.
I thought that people were gonna have trouble following lower than cumulative required parking spaces defined in table 4. No one who is on the planning board or in the town planning department is going to know what table 4 is. And also lower than the cumulative is just hard
we
to
can,
follow.
we can work.
Yeah,
Did you I don't think you wordsmithed that one. No, so do you wanna work on,
So it's really just saying,
can we delete
just delete it.
this whole slide?
No,
Except for maybe the example about the Dunkin' versus the gastropub and the paragraph at the bottom supported by an hour by hour parking analysis?
yeah, I mean, I think that's the headline.
Didn't we say the other things already? Oh, and here, this part, this about as long as the minimum number of spaces is provided adequately meets the highest demand requirement for the hours of operation that overlap. That's where we should have a slide that's got a nice little bar graph showing
well, that's,
a curve for one business and a curve for another business and pointing to the highest amount necessary, and this is how much you must provide. Which we could make based on this,
the chart.
but this chart is hard to read, and a bar graph showing mountains of accumulating hours would be easier for people to follow.
Place that bar graph in the chart.
Replace the chart.
Chart with a graph. No, it's not a bar graph, though, it's a. Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it depends on how you draw it, but I don't care.
First time, first time.
No, that would be good.
Yeah,
okay,
that was
All
another
right,
problem
so-
last year, no one could follow the chart.
what do you wanna do with slide 7?
So slide 7,
I would tweak it. I like slide 9, what is staying the same, so why not make slide 7 like what is changing? And have those kind of back to back.
mhm.
That would be my sense, because I mean, The hour by hour, like that, just like, I think people.
I liked, the only thing I liked was that they'd have to build 297 spaces, so you'd require them to build 68 spaces that are going to be empty all the time.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize that that's what
That's
this
a
means.
great way of saying it, that are going to be empty all the time, because then that really brings home.
Yeah.
What a waste of
Four
money.
tennis,
What a
four
waste of
tennis
money.
courts worth of impervious material, because remember, we have that whole
Yeah,
4 tennis courts worth of impervious material that will never be
Yeah.
used. And I think that'll resonate because that's the environmental argument, which
Yeah.
seems to really get people.
All right, so if you just jump to slide 8.
No, I understand.
I'm fine with slide 8 and we can do the chart. As a bar graph, I have to find somebody who's better at Excel than I am.
I can do it, but not rapidly.
So my suggestion, the
If you
reason
don't
we
find
jumped around.
anybody else, then.
It's because
tell me.
they're almost better as one thing somehow.
My suggestion is slide 7 should be structured more like slide 9. Like the what is staying the same, 3 very precise
Mhm.
concrete things. I think slide 7 should feel more like that. Like these are the 3.
And should we do what's staying the same first before the changes? Just throwing it out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Just because people, the thing that people don't like is change, right? We kind of remind them, hey, these are the things that are staying the same.
These are the things that are already there.
And-
Already there that were.
Yep,
Except it's confusing because it says a written agreement, and the written agreement is changing because now it's actually going to have to be.
Right, yeah, so
Signed by more people under more circumstances in a more clear way.
Yeah.
But there already was one and there will continue to be one, but it will be better.
it will be better, exactly.
And to my mind, that's a giant hole in why we really need to change joint parking, because right now it's.
Yeah.
A mess of,
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going back to slide 7.
A
And
new, no, I'm just kidding.
what is changing,
mm,
Yes,
and Andrew and I are gonna work on
Yeah,
tightening it up.
tightening it
yeah,
up.
it's just, I think those 3 bullet points are just unclear. Joint parking is permitted for any permitted, like it's
Yeah,
it's not
whole-
gonna read well to the
Yeah.
person taking. a look
Yeah,
at the
so
person.
the second that, definitely we'll work
Yeah.
on tightening, simplifying the second bullet.
And
And the third, like joint parking must be justified by an hour, like, it's very simple, but it's like just.
Mhm.
yeah, insert must be instead of.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
That.
the next slide. If we take the chart and turn it into a graph.
Mhm.
Do you want that to be the next slide and then after that, what's staying the same? Or do you want to go into what's changing, what's staying the same? And then.
I think the
then have-
explanation on this slide has some really valuable,
the graphic itself is hard, though.
the graphic itself,
If we
don't-
move this into
gone, nobody's.
a graph instead of a
But
chart.
it also does show how complicated this is and how much data is required to support it. Because this is only you basically submitted 3 hours worth of your 7-day parking plan.
So, I mean, it
Yeah.
can be helpful if like people, if this is meant to be a visual of like. A very complicated analysis is gonna be undertaken.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, let's look at this and
Yeah.
find it instructive.
Yeah.
Like if you put it up there and say.
Say like, they will have to hire a consultant to
That will
develop
pr-
a report
that
which
looks
says
a lot
something
like
like
this.
this.
Yeah, this should be a backup slide. If somebody says, but really, they're just going to make something up, then you bring up the backup
Well,
slide.
but-
I think it's helpful to have the analysis.
It's helpful to say, hey,
And I think what you say is when we talk about that an hour by hour analysis will be must be submitted and required to justify this. This is the type of thing we're talking about. It's a very technical, complicated, involved process and document that most of us look at and our eyes glaze over. But this is really valuable information, and the information we get from it is blah blah blah.
Well, okay, but people will actually understand it if we have a graph that's got hours, a bar for each hour of the day along the bottom. And then it goes up for the amount business A uses and then piles on top of that in a separate color for the amount that business B uses, and we can show that they can share some parking and have less. People will see, look, that peak is lower than the peak required for if we just added the absolute amounts of maximum parking that they would each ever need. Well, we can also try
Okay,
it both ways.
so
and see.
we'll, um, we'll work on the chart.
Mhm.
And then even though we don't have the consultant, I'll email Sam.
Because you're right, it is complicated to do the actual calculation, but if we tell people, well, it's so complicated, you can never understand it, then they'll say, I'm voting no, and we want. It's true
But
that.
do you want, so do you
Yeah.
want this slide after what is changing?
There is good information.
I think the slide has good
It's
info,
just to explain.
Okay.
but the thing is, if you put it in a chart,
You mean in a graph?
in a graph, sorry, it is in a chart. The chart at least shows the type of thing you're asking someone for, and it explains where the number, like you can piece together, okay, these are the land codes, this is the numbers, like blah, 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 and they understand the two emphasized things. You start putting it in a chart, in a graph. I'm concerned it's just gonna have the same decoding problem because you're talking about.
But you're gonna see bell curves, that's the whole point of this.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Because if you have this in different colors,
In
right,
different.
and then they're overlapped, you're gonna see one peak and then go down, the other peak go down.
But they're all together. And
So
it's
we
just-
have to
you
show.
have to,
we have
you're gonna
to
have 4 of them on one, that's the
We
part
have-
I'm.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, in that case, you do that once, that's slide number 1, and you say, you can see that. You don't need to pile them up because they fit into each other and this is, you only
And then it
need
evens
the
out.
absolute peak. But then you can say, showing this, in point of fact, the actual calculation is more complicated according to different. Times of days of the week and land use codes and so forth, but that's too complicated to go into here, and then you let them see that it's really very complicated, but the graph. The graph would show how it is that they pile up.
I think everyone's gonna ignore this.
Yeah. Visual has to be very clean.
Yeah, and this is not clean. It's nice that it
That-
says, look,
Good.
they have to go through a complicated calculation. We're not just. Screwing around. But this is too hard to read.
A lot of different colors, and then when they intersect, there's gonna be even more colors.
They use red and green, right?
Okay,
Cute.
What would you like me to do?
Here,
Do you have this do you have this in raw data, the Excel?
I don't think so. I can get that.
But
Or
if
if you
you
need
need-
it's a PDF, if you can get this to me in PDF, I'll extract it in Blue Game. And then I can do it in Excel.
Okay.
And we can, let me play with it and see if I can
Great.
make
If
something.
you
that
can make
looks-
something work,
Yeah.
that'd be. 'Cause I know that's beyond my.
I gotta make sure I do it before something.
Okay, I will do that. All right. You still haven't answered whether you want
Oh,
this to go, what is changing? Then the chart or graph, hopefully, and then what is staying the same? Because,
it's what is, you're going to, you're starting with what's staying the same,
okay, what's staying the same,
then
what is changing?
what is changing, then the graph,
Yep.
Okay,
then.
all right, now we're on to slide 10.
Right, which is, yes. And then this is just finished presentation with a few examples where the proposed amendments may have had a positive impact. When Concord was built at the
It should,
military,
it might have had, because it's too late now, it failed to have
well,
it.
may have had.
And no, because these things got built, so
Well, what about opportunities?
they might have had it in the past.
But isn't may a valid construction for?
Yes, but we're referring to something in the past, because this thing was previously built.
Yeah,
so it
may
might
have had. Does it have to be might? I just don't know. I was always thought may would have been the same.
What about
No, it's not the same.
But
but it
instead
is.
of like opportunities,
If you're talking about something we could, and
Alright, it's fine, I mean,
it's a counterfactual, never mind, let's just go ahead.
no, it's fine, I'll change it to might, but. I'll accept my grammar may not be right. When Concord Market was built at the Millbrook Terry Plaza on Lowell Road, they were required to build a raised parking structure circled here in red that rarely has any cars parked in it. And then, next slide. When Paparazzi was redeveloped into a plaza, the developer was required to build quite a lot of parking. The proposed bylaw might
Hmm.
have let them reduce the quantity of paving even further, increasing green space or providing a greater buffer to Aspet River.
Okay, you say reduce the quantity of paving even further, but even further than what? Why don't you just strike even further?
That's fine. It was an acknowledgement because it
That-
originally had an acknowledgement that like,
Oh,
Because-
yes, they had joint parking, but like,
Yeah.
did it go far enough? Because
Right.
of the uses they had. It
yeah,
probably
okay,
didn't, but
yeah, but since you left those.
yeah,
details-
no, that was my own like cover.
But that's a
You
good
see why-
distinction,
Yeah,
because, you know, the project
Did have joint parking.
does
Does
have
have
joint
joint
parking for one restaurant and the bank.
Right,
but it could.
But the
two
proposed
restaurants.
bylaw.
Yeah,
but with
Yeah.
3 restaurants there, operating on different models, it may not make sense, yes.
they could have gotten some, I mean,
Some parking.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
so the
presumably.
some,
project,
that's not really.
the project
Sorry,
does have
alright,
joint,
you're right,
does have joint
I'm
parking
actually gonna have to
for
grain that.
one restaurant
Not relief, it's not relief.
and the bank. But the proposed bylaw might have let them reduce.
Even further.
Oh, man.
To the benefit of the environment, not the developer.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the,
and to the benefit of the people of Concord of not
Right.
having more.
Right.
Pointless parking to walk past instead of lovely trees, grass, flowers and
Okay.
stormwater.
All right, so just to make sure I get this, I am deleting what was slide 5, which is now. Slide 6, because we moved a slide up to 2.
right,
Deleting
the
slide
note from slide 5 though is jumping up to
is jumping up to slide.
Or the new slide.
Oh. Yes, slide 4. Yes,
Just make sure that didn't get lost.
Yes.
slide 4, which is a parking study approach. Joint parking is very restrictive and could be improved. I will note that joint parking is not, okay, yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Great. I will note that so far we are finding that as usual, parking is the most time consuming thing.
You know.
It just is.
Mhm.
Oh.
That's you.
This is deeply exciting. Okay, well, I mean, I think it's a great change. It's just, it's changing it 2 to a 3. This article would bring the maximum height of limited business district 1 into alignment with other zoning districts in Concord. Most other districts have a height limit of 35 feet and a few have a higher limit. Heights under 35 feet do not allow for 3 stories and are therefore inconsistent with other zoning districts. A height under 35 feet, height. It does,
where are we?
The.
does not
Does not
allow.
And
It is therefore
sentence.
inconsistent. I'll mail this to you, Elizabeth.
no,
And
I can do this
Okay.
for height limits, heights under
a
35.
height under 35 feet does not allow for 3 stories and is
Okay.
therefore inconsistent with other zoning districts and with principles of economic vitality
35
and
feet.
sustainability. Limited Business District number 1 is located along Elm Street where it meets Route 2. You may wonder, why make this change when the zone is already fully developed? It's true that 2 properties were recently renovated or redeveloped, but it's unclear what the future of the Best Western is. This limited business district is in the MBTA Communities Overlay District. That means that parcels can be redeveloped as multifamily housing by right. While we need small housing units for workers, seniors, and young adults, we also need a diverse tax base, including commercial property, to keep from relying too heavily on residential property taxes. allowing any building in limited business one to be 35 feet would increase the chances of retaining at least some commercial uses, either as all commercial or perhaps as mixed use that combines businesses with housing. Thank you. And
Then back up.
backup slides in case anybody asks, what's 35 feet where? There's a backup slide showing that basically every 35, everything's 35 or 5 or higher, except the Southbridge Boathouse and that very odd little 59 Walden Street single spots up.
So here's the other question, our GIS team was able, as a backup slide, to have, two graphics that show the locations.
Of all the individual districts.
Of the limited. Oh, no, this was for yours, sorry. I'm getting confused. Huh?
Why after all this would you possibly get confused?
No. No, it's for mixed, no,
Do you mean these two slides?
No, no.
No, something different.
no. No, for mixed use.
Oh,
It's a graphic for mixed use.
Pull that presentation up.
No, so I will add that as a backup slides.
all the districts where mixed use
uh,
is allowed, plus adding limited business district number 1.
Yes.
Great, that will be a nice backup slide, thank you. Okay, so backup slide. Here says. Limited business 5 is the Southbridge Boathouse. It's a special case because of its location on the bank of the Sudbury River, and it only allows boat rental, farming, and some uses required by state law. Limited business 2 is 59 Walden Street. It's a single small lot, already fully developed and unlikely to be redeveloped anytime soon, so we skipped over it to keep this article simple and straightforward. Another backup slide. The limited business 1 district is bordered by Residence B zoning and Route 2, with the MCI Concord property on the far side of Route 2 and Baker Avenue extension. And Baker Ave extension. Changing the maximum height of limited business 1 would have minimal effect on the surrounding house lots. The maximum height in Residence B is already 35 feet. And other commercial districts already allow 35 feet or more. In addition to that, there's so much undevelopable land in this area that nothing could get built in limited business 1 near anything in Residence B. Another backup slide points out that that is the case. The parts of limited business 1 that are closest to house lots are all river or floodplain. In addition, the Concord Conservation Land Trust owns several parcels, and some others are state-owned or a religious institution. There's just no way for any building in LB1 to cozy up to any possible house in Residence B.
You tell me the changes you just made. Beside them.
Yeah, I will send them.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there's.
One fun.
I didn't even submit any comments on this one.
That was like mine last year. What did I do last year? But it was just like,
Signed by law,
yeah,
Yeah.
one word.
one word. Any questions? Like, thank you.
I'm gonna get together with 9 other people to take this one off the consent calendar.
So, yeah, that is all it is.
Yep.
It's gone on to-
Well, but Pat still needs to give the presentation.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
And, okay. That's all we have.
See, answering.
And
We have minutes. but-
we have minutes, but I did want to, some, Rob knows, but I did want everybody to know that Greg, did. Submit his resignation to the board. It's a lot to start a new job and everything, so, he just felt his traveling would. Really, with his
Elevation.
so.
Yeah.
I do know that, Rob is talking with, Wendy Ravelli, our, select board liaison, and, hopefully, can find somebody to fill that unexpired term, quickly. It's always challenging when you guys have a vacant seat, so. But Sue will be doing the LB1 presentation. All right, and then last you have his minutes.
Did you circulate the changes that I sent to Heather?
I don't think Heather did.
Okay,
Is that correct, Heather?
No, I did not. Sorry.
I no longer remember what I sent in. I thought it was like shockingly trivial.
Is it January 6th?
Yes, it is.
I make a motion that we approve.
What, do you want me, we can.
Are they clerical errors?
It happened so long ago, like 2 days, that I no longer remember.
It's a lot of one.
Hang on.
You wanna pop them up on the screen?
That's right. It's all.
This is for which date? January?
6th.
Got them. I can put them up real quick.
Oh, thank you. Can you make it bigger, Heather, please? Perfect, thank you. Page 1.
Okay.
And first part of page 2.
Your tenses.
That's
Like I've read this, and I was like, yeah, it is. No, it was right. No, it's true.
Yes, I did like that.
part of page 2.
So. Not bad still.
That's it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for January 6th as amended.
Can I get a second,
I'll
please?
second that.
Everyone in favor?
Thank you, Heather.
With that, and we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.